Hi, welcome to yet another series on how to build a blockchain app to computer manufacturers' defective components in the Microsoft Azure Blockchain Workbench. My name remains Ayuba Ojonugwamoazu, and I'm a software developer from Nigeria in Africa. And if you've been following my tutorials on the education ecosystem, you will see that I've created a whole lot of tutorials regarding the blockchain technology and ASP.NET and C#. So I've created tutorials on Ethereum, creating the apps using the Ethereum network, also using the Neo network. We've created tutorials there, but in this series that I'm creating now, I'm focusing on the Azure blockchain. I'm focusing on the Azure blockchain workbench rather. And then we are going to see how we can use the blockchain workbench, the Azure blockchain workbench, to ease our process of creating blockchain dApps. So you're going to see, we're going to look at the overview of the Azure blockchain workbench, and we're going to see the capabilities of the Azure blockchain workbench and what we can do with it. So in these tutorials here of how to computer manufacturers' defective components, we're going to look at a special way of writing codes that has to do with arrays and counter. So at the end of the day, we are using the sample of a manufacturer defective components to explain that. And then of course you're going to see how this will ease your development process if you're creating a dApp and you're choosing the Azure blockchain workbench. So just stay tight with me in this video tutorial, and then I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hi, welcome to session 1 on this video series on building a blockchain app to computer manufacturers' defective components in the Azure blockchain workbench. My name is Ayuba Ojonugwamoazu. Now here we're going to discuss the overview of the Azure blockchain workbench. We're going to look at what is the Azure blockchain workbench, and then we're going to look at the blockchain networks it supports, and then its counts, and then users. We're just going to have a conceptual overview of what this is all about and how you can leverage this to ease your development of creating dApps. The Azure blockchain workbench currently is under preview, and it's under public preview, and is a collection of Azure services and capabilities designed to help you create and deploy blockchain applications to share business processes and data with other organizations. Azure blockchain workbench provides the infrastructure scaffolding for building blockchain applications, enabling developers to focus on creating business logic in smart contracts. It also makes it easier to create blockchain application by integrating several Azure services and capabilities to help automate common development tasks. Now, what can you do with the Azure blockchain workbench? Number one, you can create blockchain applications. Now, once the workbench is being deployed, you can leverage on that to create blockchain applications, blockchain decentralized applications. So it makes it easier for you to have a kind of a working environment where you can build your blockchain applications, just like what we're going to do in this video tutorial. Then you can manage blockchain users. You know, you can give you can create accesses and roles and manage users by giving users accesses to different components of your application. So that's one intuitive feature that you can do using the workbench. So it enables you to manage blockchain users, more especially in your applications. So you can define roles and accesses on who will use a particular kind of data or who is granted access to a particular aspect of your application. Then you can also use the workbench to integrate blockchain with other applications. So let's say you have other applications that are built and then you want to integrate blockchain into those applications. The workbench, it's a tool that you must look at. You can actually use it to integrate with other applications that you've developed. Then you can deploy a blockchain network. Now what the workbench really does, it abstracts you from the the nitty-gritty details that I call of deploying a blockchain, of scaffold, of building a blockchain network actually. So it's if you look at from what I said from the here, I said it makes it easier. Okay, blockchain workbench provides the infrastructure scaffolding for building blockchain applications, thereby enabling developers to focus on creating business logics and smart contracts. So it makes it easy for you to deploy a blockchain network without going through a whole lot of dependencies that you will need to be able to set up a blockchain or deploy a blockchain network that you need to use. Then with the workbench, you can use Active Directory. Now each user you create on the workbench actually has an address that is being mapped to that user, or an Ethereum address, because the workbench supports Ethereum network for now. So it has an Ethereum address that is mapped to that user. Now an Active Directory is created, thereby abstracting you from actually working with the Ethereum address. You now have each user has a unique Active Directory code that represents his unique Ethereum address that you can use. So using the Active Directory, you can actually manage users and give them roles and accesses properly. So in the next video, if we're deploying the workbench, you get to see that. And then you can synchronize on-chain data with off-chain storage. Now the off-chain storage could be Microsoft SQL Server, and then you can synchronize it with the on-chain, the blockchain on-chain data that you have, to enable you to even if you don't have connected to the blockchain network, to enable you to work and get things done smoothly. So these are what you can do with the Azure blockchain workbench. In the next video, we are going to set up the Azure blockchain workbench on our portal, on the Azure portal, and then we are going to see how we can create users, how we can manage users, how we can create applications on the blockchain workbench, and how we can integrate the application. So these are the next series of videos that you are going to watch, but this session one here just gives you an overview of the Azure blockchain workbench and what you can do with it. So stay tuned with me while we continue in the next video. Thank you for watching. Hi, welcome to session 2 on this video series on how to build a blockchain app to compute a manufacturer's defective components in the Azure blockchain workbench. So here in session 2 here, we're going to set up the Azure blockchain workbench itself, and then we're just going to see how the whole process is. So we're going to set up this workbench to enable us create our dApps. So the first thing, you go to this URL here, portal.azure.com, and then you need to sign in your credentials. Once signing your credentials, it brings you here to this page that I have here. But one thing in mind, you have to notice, if this is your first time, and since the Azure blockchain workbench is under public preview, you get $200 worth of free credits that you can try. Let me get to see how much credit I have now. Well, I have $42. I hope this will be okay for this tutorial. So you get $200 worth of free credits that you can try. So you go to this URL here, and then you click on it, and then you sign up, and then you get that ready. Now you can see this is my sign up email that I'm using. You can see my email is lifeedu.streamerelations@gmail.com. So that's my account. So once you sign up, you are going to have your own account like this. And of course, you could create a whole lot of different accounts that you can use. Now, here's my interface. This will be quite different from yours because you can see I have recent resources of different services that I've created. So we created this resource group in the last video, and then if you watch that video, you will get to see this. So the first thing to deploy your workbench, the first thing you need to do is you need to create a resource for the workbench you want to deploy. But I'll just show you the process, but I believe I can use the last resource that I did here. So to create a resource, here's what you need to do. You click on this. You go to blockchain, and then you go to blockchain workbench, which is what we are using now. So you click on that. You wait a little for that to come up. Now it's trying to create the workbench for us. So here you have these. Now I already have a resource I've created, so I don't really think I should recreate this, but just to show you how this is done. Now the resource prefix, you could put your name here, or you could put manufacturer. Since we're creating a manufacturer defective components, you could say manufacturer. Then this, the VM username, you could still put manufacturer. Now you can see each one that is correct. You can see it puts this checkbox here. Then your authentication type, leave it on password, leave it here, and then you put in your password. Now the password has rules. You can click to see. You can see the VM password must be 12 characters and have 3 of the following: 1 lowercase character, 1 uppercase character, 1 number, and 1 special character. So you put in your password here, you confirm the password, then the database and the blockchain password. I usually like to write the same thing, so it's the same. You can see password used for administrator access to the database and the blockchain service. Password must at least be 12 characters in length, must contain characters from 3 of the following categories: so English letters, number 0 to 9, non-alphanumeric characters. This, then the following characters are actually restricted, so you don't need to. You can put the hash code, the percent code, and all this. Then password must not contain 3 consecutive characters in database username. Good. So that's that. So you enter the database and blockchain password, you confirm it, and then you select your deployment region. Now I'm in Africa. I selected Western Europe, which I feel is a bit closer to me. Then of course the Azure subscription that you're going to use is Azure subscription 1, which is the free subscription that I was being given. Then you can go right ahead and select your existing group. Now I have existing groups, so I can use this, but in a case where you don't have an existing group, you can go here and create a new one. So you click on this and then you give it a name. Then of course you also select a location for that. So here I just left it at US East. So now if you have these, once you're done with this the way I explained, then you go right ahead and click OK. You can put the prefix to be manufacturer, or you can put your name, just like I did in my own case. I put my name here, so You can either leave it as manufacturer or you put your name. So my name is Ayuba, and I decided to use that. So now once this has been created, why don't I just do this? I think I should just do this so that you get to see how it works. So manufacturer, so my password should be so I'm just filling in what I have. I think I can put this in my existing group, but like I said, you could create a new group by just clicking here, and you could just give it a name. You could just say manufacturer. Good. We can leave it at this location, and then we click OK. Now it takes us to advanced setting. So blockchain setting network, we can leave it here, create new blockchain service pricing tier. We can leave it at the basic, and then Azure Active Directory settings, we can leave it to add later. And then of course you can leave this, you don't need to change the size. So 3.5 gigabyte memory is okay. So we'll click OK, and then we'll get to see the summary of what we have done. So it's running final validations, and this is okay. So we can go right ahead, just verify everything is okay that you want, and then you click this button here, the OK button. So you can get to read the terms of use and privacy policy. So you're okay with it, and you can go right ahead and click the create button. So you can see initializing template deployments to resource group manufacturer. So I've created a resource group, which like I said is the first step. So now we have to watch these and see this will have to take some. Okay, so we can watch the deployment in progress. So you can click on that. I think it will take like 90 minutes thereabouts to deploy this completely. So you can see your deployment is on the way, and then the resource group name is manufacturer. So we just have to wait for this to be deployed. So we wait for our deployments because it's still in progress. Go back home and see. You can also come here, Active Directory. Okay, oh, I came to Active Directory. Oh, this is just to show me my once you come to Active Directory, it shows your default directory, and you can get to see your email, your ID that you're going to use. You can see this is a tenant ID here, and then of course the Azure Active Directory I'm using is free. It's just to get to see what's going on. And then scroll down and see the sign-ins that you've used. You can see mine will be probably be different from yours. And I can I can check my users and all that here. Once I click here, I can get to see my users. Click here, I see app registrations and all that, but we'll come to this later. Let's just still go back. We're still monitoring our deployments, so we can still go back to it. This will possibly take 90 minutes, I guess. So you can see it's deploying it one by one, and then you can click here to see the next steps. So we wait for all this. Once it's deployed, then we continue from this tutorial. Once it's deployed, I'll continue from here and then in the next video. So thank you for watching. Hi. We shall continue from where we stopped in the last video, and if you look at it, my deployment is complete, so yours should be complete too, I guess. It took about I think up to 90 minutes. I still have $36 credit remaining. I hope this will be okay to finish the tutorial with it. Now that we have this deployed, we can go back here. Let's go back to home. And then we said manufacturers resources, right? Now you can come here, resource groups. You can click on this. Good. So you can see I have this manufacturer resource group. So I'll just let this as manufacturer, and you can see it's under the subscription, Azure subscription 1, and this is the location. It's 10 US. So you can still go right ahead and click that to see more details about what you've created here. And click that to drill down and see more details of what you've created here. Good. So you can see deployment 22 succeeded, and this is it. And then here's my subscription ID, of course. Now if you come here, you can see we'll have it's in records of different types that will have SQL Server, event grid topic, and the rest. Now our workbench URL, we can retrieve that by clicking on this. Just click on the type here so that you can filter that. Now you can see we have app service, this, and then we have this. manufacturer. These are the two app service. So click on the first one, the one without the API, so that we can get our workbench URL. So we'll click on that. Now here is our workbench URL. So this is it's created. You can status is running, and this location, and then of course this is the URL. So you can come right ahead and copy this. You can copy this and good. Come open it in a new tab. We're going to use it later. Good. So you can see welcome to Azure Blockchain Workbench. So let's get your instance set up. So I'm going to come back to this later, but just make sure you open this on a new tab. Now what I want to do is should I create the users now, or I should go on and show you the application roles and states before we create the user? Yeah, I think we need to do that. Should go to application roles and states before we create the user. Okay, all right. Now another thing, let's okay, here's our email, live edu stream a relations gma.microsoft.com. I want to copy that. I think I can get that. Go back to home, go back to your Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. Now the beautiful thing about the workbench is each user that is being created actually has a tenant ID and an Ethereum ID associated with it. So what we're being displayed here is our tenant ID. So if you're the first user you created actually will be your tenant, and then it will have the role of global administrator, and then this is the username. So I'm going to use this. So you need to copy this, just copy this somewhere under your default directory, the name, the email you used. Just wait 1 minute. Okay, good. So you need to copy this, and we're going to use it later. Now let's just go to the workbench and let's just set it up completely. So look at what it says here. It says step 1, launch Cloud Shell and run the following command. So we're going to copy this. We're going to copy these codes here by clicking on this, and then we launch Cloud Shell. So you click the next tab to launch Cloud Shell. Now Cloud Shell will come up. Now because I've worked on this before, it's asking me how do I want to log in, whether with my default directory, which is this, or with this account. Now I'm going to log in with this, so make sure you log in with your default directory to work on the Cloud Shell. So Cloud Shell is up and running. So what you copied, that the code you copied, just paste it here. And then you click enter to run that. So you see it says please enter the Azure Active Directory tenant you would like to use. So which is this is the tenant you would like to use with this tenant ID. So just copy this here, your username that you have there. So we're just going to paste that here. So we're going to paste that there. So we give it time to write the tenant's ID. Good. After that has been pasted, you hit on enter. So now look at what it said here. It says to sign in, use a web browser to open the page Microsoft.com device login and enter this code here to authenticate. So we'll just go right ahead and copy this. All good. So I'll open that. Now it's going to ask me for a code to log in, which is the next. So you see it, enter the code displayed on your app or device. So which is this code here. So just come around and copy this code. I hope I copied that code. And then you paste it here and then you hit on the next button. Now you will be signed into Azure Active Directory PowerShell on a remote device or service. Select back if you aren't trying to sign into this application or remote device or service. Of course, I'm signing in, and this is what I'm signing in with my Live Edu Gmail account, the one that is already signed in. So you just click on it. So you can see you have signed into Azure Active Directory PowerShell application on your device. You may now close this window, of course. So let's just go right ahead and close this window. And then you can see it's creating the Azure Active Directory application. It has successfully created that. And creating the service principal for Azure Blockchain Workbench. Successfully created role assignment. So we'll just wait for this to create everything that needs to be created. So of course, one user we found, which is your primary user that you used, your primary email that you used in logging in, probably the one you received your free $200 credits that you're using. So we have that as one user that's already found. So now it's attempting to update this the workbench URL. So okay, of course your workbench instance was successfully provisioned. Now you can navigate here to use your instance, which is what we already have here. So it means we can refresh this, right? Now you can see permissions requested because we've refreshed that. So it's asking us this Azure application workbench manufacturer. Of course, the workbench we're using is called manufacturer. So we'll just go right ahead and click accept. That link didn't work. Check and try again. I think I need to refresh it again. Good. So you can see we've set up our workbench, and we can start building our application. It says start here by building your first application. Now we are logged in with this user, my primary user that I'm using. So the next thing is to start building applications here, which is the next stage we're going to do. So we're going to build our dApp, our manufacturer's defective counter dApp, and then we're going to look at the solidity code in the JSON file and what is really requested to be able to create this. So we're going to do that here now that we have our workbench set up. But before we do that, or while we're doing that, we are going to create users that will use this application. Of course, we need the manufacturer to be able to use it, and then we're just going to create users to be able to do that. So now if you've done this, you've successfully deployed and set up your blockchain workbench for the app development. So the next, we are going to move into the next session to start coding our application. So thank you for watching. Hi, welcome to session 3 on this video series on how to build a blockchain app to compute a manufacturer's defective component in Azure Blockchain Workbench. In this session 3 here, we are going to discuss the application. We're going to look at the overview of the manufacturer defective components dApp. It's going to be a dApp, and we're going to look at the application roles and the application states. This is just we're just going to it's always good to plan before you develop. So we're just going to look at the whole framework and how it's going to work. So now this image, I have this image here that shows the workflow of the defective components counter state transition. Now the application is going to have roles where we assign users to those roles, and we're going to have a role called manufacturer where we assign a manufacturer user, and then we did that with M. Then we have a transition function, and then AIR means allowed instance role. So the instance role we're going to allow, because we need to give the role, the manufacturer role, we need to allow that manufacturer, the user given the manufacturer role, to be able to do something, right? So we need to do that. Now in just a very simple term, here's what's going to happen. The manufacturer can create contracts, and then after creating contracts, the transition function will mean the manufacturer can compute the total of defective counter. So over the last 12 months, when the manufacturer is creating a contract, he's going to create contract and enter the total number of defective components over the last 12 months. And then after that, he can always impute defective component and then compute total. So at the end of the day, the total will be the sum of the last 12 months defective components plus the sum of the current defective components. So that will give him we can put that in the blockchain, and the manufacturer will get to see the sum of all total defective components within a period of time. Now actually, this will show you how you can use arrays and lists in creating your dApp. So that's why I'm teaching you how you can do that by stating an example of a manufacturer defective component counter state transition. So like I said, that's the workflows. So the instance role, we're going to give the manufacturer user, we're going to give him the instance role, and then in the workflow is going to be a simple workflow to total the number of defective components over 12 months. And then the states of the contract. It will hold the states of the contract, and then we'll have a monthly count of defective components. And the manufacturer, of course, will be the person manufacturing the components. So that will be like the actor of the game, the manufacturer. So what we need to do now is we need to go right ahead and create a user. We need to go and create a manufacturer user from our workbench, or we need to look at the list of users we have and we just need to create a user. That's just the best way to go about it. So let me put my internet on so that I go right ahead and create a user. So once we create that user, then we can move to the next video where we can create the JSON file and the Solidity file. So okay, just to put my internet on. Okay, good. So come right here. So I need to refresh this. I need to refresh this. So we go back to okay, I need to close all these. I need all this. So just refresh this and then let's create a user. Well, I have $24 remaining. I hope I'll finish this tutorial with this. Now, okay, I've created a user before, but I'll just show you the process how we created this user. This is my very good friend, Dusan, colleague. Okay, so let's go back to home. Okay, good. Now to create a user, here's what we're going to do. We go to Active Directory. In case you didn't see Active Directory, I forgot to mention that you can search for it here. You can just come to search box here and type Active Directory, and I think the internet is slow somehow. Okay, good. Active Directory. Microsoft Azure has a whole lot of services that you can actually call to ease developments. So let's say I don't have it, so you can see I have it here, Azure Active Directory, but I already have it here. So you go right ahead and click on that. What I'm showing you here is how to create a user, and then in our application we're going to give the user the role of a manufacturer. So in our workflow when we're creating the application, now of course this is your default directory that will first be displayed when you come to overview. So you go to users, click on users, Good. Now these are my list of users that I've created before. Now to create a new user, you just click on new user here. To save the credits, I don't think to save the free credit I have to complete this tutorial, I don't think I'm going to create this user. I will just work with the last user that I have. So good. So you can see create user here. We have two options. We have create user, we have invite user. If you read here, create a new user in your organization. This user will have usernames like, for example, I'll leave at live stream, education, blah blah blah. That's good. And then invite a user to collaborate with your organization. The user will be emailed an invitation they can accept in order to begin collaborating. This is a very nice tool you can actually use in building blockchain dApps. I give a thumbs up to this Microsoft Azure Workbench. Now here you enter a username. For example, if it's somebody's name, you can just say Adams, for instance. Just Adams. So it will now be Adams at your default directory name, which is this. Then here you can put in the full name of Adams. You can see maybe Adam Smith. Then of course the first name, the last name. You can decide to auto-generate a password, or you can decide to create a password yourself. So if you click this, you create a password yourself. And then the orders, you can leave the orders as they are. Groups, just leave the roles in user role, and then you can fill the job info of the particular user and his or her department, for example. So usage location, you can also locate that, but you can ignore that for the purpose of this tutorial. So once you've filled in these details, then you go right ahead and click create. So you go here and you click create button, and the user will be created. It's simple as that. So if the user is created, you go back to all users. Of course, your unsaved edit will be scanned, of course. So you have your users here, and then you can click on each user to see his detail. Like this is the user I'm going to use, Decentralized. I have Mustafa Moazu, Sadiq Moazu, and live edu the TV user, which is the default user I'm using. So good. So this is the user details, and this the sign-ins and all that. So you can see this is the username, and this is his object ID, which is actually mapped to an Ethereum address that we can see once we deploy our application. So now that's how to create the user, and you can get to see, you can reset the user password here in case you forgot it, or you can edit the user detail or remove the user from the application. So now that's how we're going to create a user. And we'll have a username called Decentralized. So in our application, we're going to first of all create the JavaScript object notification file for the manufacturer application. Then we create the Solidity file, and then we give this user here a role of a manufacturer, which means only this user can be able to carry out the functions we're going to design in our application. Another user in my list of users, when they log in, they cannot do that. So Mustafa Moazu and this guy Sadiq, they can't do that, just only Decentralized. So that's what we're going to do. So that's that about how the application is going to be. Like I told you, the application, we are going to create we're going to assign roles to the manufacturer user, and then the manufacturer user can now create a contract and then compute the total of defective components in his manufacturing organization. Okay, so thank you for watching. Just stay with me in the next video while we start typing some codes. What am I trying to do? Did I run this? Okay, I need to stop this. I guess I was. Hi, welcome to session 4 on this video series on how to build a blockchain app to compute a manufacturer's defective components. Here now we are going to dive into code, and we're going to create the manufacturer defective component dApp. So first of all, we're going to start with the JSON file, which will describe the application roles, the application workflow, the application state, and you know, the application functions and all that. So that's what we're going to do in the JSON file. Then we're going to create the Solidity file also that will be the smart contract for this particular application. So first of all, we are going to start with the JSON file. Now you can use any editor that suits you, but I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, which I think is okay for me. You can use Notepad actually for typing this code if Notepad is okay for you. So I'm going to create this JSON file here, and I'll stick to Visual Studio Code, and then I'll use that. So I open my Visual Studio Code, and then I'll wait for it to get loaded up first. Okay, what is this? Did a whole lot of close this. So I will just go to new. Let's create a new file. Good, so I'm going to create my JSON file here. So we will start like this, of course, and I'll start with the application name. So application name will be defective components, or defective components counter. Defective components counter. Okay, then of course the display name will be a manufacturer's defective components counter. So display name defective components counter, but to put in some space just to make it more readable. Then the description, of course, we need to write the description of this. So description, a simple application to total the number of defect of a manufacturer's defective components over the last 12 months. A simple dApp, simple dApp to total the number of defective components over the 12 months of defective components over 12 months. So here we're defining the application. So now with the next thing, we move to application roles. We move to the application roles. Okay, so the application roles. And then okay, no. Good, this will be okay. So the name of the role we're going to create is manufacturer role, just like how I explained. So the name will be of course manufacturer role, name of the role. So this manufacturer role we are creating now, we the admin of the application will assign a particular user this role, and then that user can actually create a contract. So description, will be a person manufacturing components, a person manufacturing components. Okay, so that will be the manufacturer rule. Now let's go right ahead and define the workflows. So the workflows, so of course the name of the workflow will be a defective component counter. Defective component counter. This is okay like this, and then the display name of course will be just like how we define the application rule. In the application definition, display name, okay, defective components counter, and the description will be a workflow to total the number of defective components counter. Yeah, so the description of the workflow, a simple workflow to total the number of defective components over 12 months, which of course is a year. So the initiator of this contract will be who? The manufacturer, right? So initiators will be the manufacturer rule. Anybody that's been given the manufacturer rule can initiate this workflow, can initiate this contract, can start the contract. So the start state will be to create. We can give it any name. Start state. You see, this is quite a beautiful piece. So we're going to display create, and then the properties of that will be the description of this property will be to hold the state of the contract. So we can start like this. So we'll just define the properties of this workflow. Define the properties of this workflow. So we start with a name. Of course, will be the state. So talking about the start state, and then the display name will be it's going to hold the state of the contract. The display name, sorry, it's going to be states, of course. Talking about the state of the contract, then the description, so this will hold the state of the contract, holds the state of the contract, and then of course the type is going to, we'll just define a type here. It's going to be a state. Okay, good. So we have these we're still talking about the workflows, right? So So we have this. So the second workflow will be the manufacturer. So I guess I'm gonna put this like this, and then still come down here and then do this. Good. So start with name, manufacturer workflow, display name manufacturer, Now it's very important we do all these. We need to create this so that we can see the state of the contract, how the whole workflow of the particular application of this application is once we are running it. So that's why we're creating all this so that you can get to see. So description of this particular workflow will be a person manufacturing components. Components, and then type of course is manufacturer. Good. Then the defective component counts, we need to also talk that to be able to compute the total at the end of the day. So we need to have the count, then the total. We need to count the defective components, then the total. Okay, so let's do that. So the name, we'll say defective component count. Defective components count. I need to scroll down a little. Good. The display name, so it's going to be, the display name should be, since we're talking about 12 months, so we just have monthly counts of defective components. Monthly counts of defective components. So description. We can say still monthly counts of defective components. Description, how we're going to describe this, we say description is going to be the same as display name, so I think we just leave it like this. Let's put it blah blah. Type, it's going to be an array because we need to store this in an array, just like I said. So name, array, element type will be integer. So you can see this is quite different. Element type, that will be integer. Good. So now let's talk about the total count. Let's talk about the total counts. So name, total, display name, total number of defective components. number of defective components. So description, we can just put blah blah. Description. And then the type is going to be an integer to sum up this defective components count. So type name integer. Good. So now we're done with the workflow. The next thing we need to do is to define the constructor. So we start with the parameters. So the first one, name. Defective components count. Description. Display name. So enter the number of defective components for 12 months, of course. So here's what we're going to display in once you initialize the contract. It's going to tell you enter the number of defective components in 12 months. Enter the number of defective components in 12 months. So the type, it's going to be an array. Type it's going to be an array, and then what's element type of array? It's going to be an integer. Element type, to be an integer. Good. So so now we have defined the constructor. So next thing is we'll go to the functions. Right. Let's see. Make sure I have this. Okay. I guess I'm not getting this correctly. Okay. Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure that these my braces are correct. Well, workflows, right? And this, okay, this should end workflows. So I'll put my comma here and then go to functions, define functions. Yes, then after functions I define the state. So functions, name of the function, compute total, display name of that will be compute total 2. And description, and then parameters, good. So we're done with function. Then let's go to states. Let's go to states. So name, creates, that's the first states actually. Well, the first states, which is creates, right? Good. And the second one will be compute total, just like how we said that the manufacturer here, we said he's going to create and then compute total. So we're going to define that now. So create, okay, sorry. Then display name, of course, we create. We create, then description, and just leave that void like this. Then percent complete, good, because we need to show how the percent complete of the state. So percent complete. Will be 50 and the value will be 0. Style, that's our display style here, will be success. So once this has been created, once the create contract is okay, then we display success style. So now we go to the transitions. Don't worry if you don't want to type these, you're going to download this from the project resource. So allowed roles and allowed instance roles. instance roles. Of course, it's going to be the manufacturer. So description, then function, compute total, and the next state of course will be compute total. And display name should be compute total. So good. Now we go to the next state, which of course is compute total, because here now we show the transition. Now we allow the raw manufacturer the transition. The next state will be compute total, so creating that now. Name, compute total, display name, compute total, number of defective components, description, then percent complete will now be 100. The value will now be toggled to 1. Next tile will be success. We're not transitioning to any state again, so transition will be null. Okay, I hope my JSON is correct. All right. So let's go right ahead and save this. We save it as manufacturers or manufacturer.json. I must I'm going to store it in flashback movies. So manufacturer chasing. You can select all, not select all. Do we have JSON here? JSON with comments. I guess I'll leave it at all files. So now I've saved this. You can, like I said, you can use any of your favorite text editor to create this. So I'm using Visual Studio Code to do this. Oh, I think I have a problem. Okay, I'll fix this and then upload it. Probably this should be inside states. So where am I getting this problem from? This should be after this. We have this, and then okay, I will fix this and then you can download it from the resources. Hi, welcome to session 5 on this video series on how to build a blockchain dApp to compute manufacturers' defective components on Microsoft Azure Blockchain Workbench. So in the last video, we were able to create a JSON file and a Solidity file, and in case you might be having some errors, the application files will be uploaded and you can download it from our GitHub page on Education Ecosystem. So here we're going to deploy our application now. The first thing you need to do is you need to go to your Workbench. You copy the URL, which of course I have mine here. You go to home, you go to resource groups, you select manufacturer, and then why don't I just remind you of that? So let's go back to home. So we go to resource groups, and then we select our resource group, of course, which is manufacturer. Okay, and then we click on this type here to be able to filter it. Now you select these without the API manufacturer, so you click on that. Okay, so you click on that and then wait for it to open. Good, so because our status is running, so here's the URL. So you copy this URL and you open it on a new tab. and then we are ready to create our applications. So make sure you're logged in. You can see I'm logged in with my default account, so make sure you're logged in with your default account which you use in your directory. So click on this tile here to create a new contract, or to deploy the contract rather. So first of all, we're going to upload our configuration.json. Now one thing I forgot to mention, please save the file, the JSON file, as defective component counter, because we have defined these in our workflow, so we need to save it like that. If you look at our workflow, we defined it as defective component counter, so we need to save it like that for everything to run fine. And even in our our smart contracts, we defined it as defective components counter here. So please save it as defective component counter.json and defective component counter.sol instead of manufacturer.sol. So now once you're done with that, you come here, you click on browse, you search for the defective component counter.json file, and then hopefully that should compile without any error. Good. And then you can see upload the contract code.sol or .zip. So we upload the SOL file, which is our smart contract. Good. So we click on deploy. Now we are able to create our defective components counter dApp. So you can see that here, in which you can click on it, and you can see, but now we cannot create a contract here because we are logged in with a user whom is not given the role to create a contract. So all we need to do now is we need to add members. So let's come here. You can see it said assign members to roles in your application, or you can click here. Anyway, I already have two members that I'm logged in with. I have this and then I have this. So I want to use this user, and then so 0 members to this, so I click here and then I'm going to add member to this application. So I'm going to choose this user from my list of users that I've created. So it's going to search through my Active Directory, good, and select this user. So which role am I going to give this user? The manufacturer role. So it means this user can actually create a contract. So we add that user, and then he is a manufacturer, which of course is the only role we have created. So now, now that I have one member that can be able to do this, the next thing is I can open okay, well, so we're able to deploy our smart contracts, and then we're able to have it up and running, right? Let's go back to application. So this is it. We're able to deploy our smart contracts, and we've added a user. So in the next video, I will just interact with the smart contract and show you how everything works. So thank you for watching. Okay, welcome to the last session on this video series on how to build a blockchain dApp to compute a manufacturer's defective components using the Azure blockchain workbench. So here now we're going to interact with our application, of course with our dApp that we've created, and then we're going to see what we have created and how useful it's going to be for us. So if you could remember, in the last video we deployed this application here, and then we added a member to it. So if you click on it, you can see that the application has one member added to it, in which I've showed you how you can create that member. So I have this one member with me. Now in case you've forgotten how to create the member, I'll just run you through again. You can you go to home, you go to your Active Directory, Make sure, of course, you're logged into your default directory and with your default account. So you go to Active Directory. Okay, wait for this to come up. Good. So from your Active Directory, then you go to users. You will see the list of users you've created, but to create a new user, you can click on the new user tab up. Good. And then you can like I said, there are two options. You can create a user in your organization, which is going to have these extension of the email, or you can invite a user. So make sure you select the create user tile, and then you enter the user name here. For example, I created Dusan, so you just put DUSAN. This user has already been created, so it's going to be good. So username already exists in this directory. So you just create a user by putting, let's say, maybe email, for instance. Good. And then you can put name, maybe Abel Smart. So you put the first name, the last name, and then you create a password for this user. So you create a password for this user here, in which, of course, the password has a code that you have to follow. And after doing this, you can mail the password to the user, put in the job info, the job title, and job department. Once you're done, you click on the create button. So that's how you create a user here. Now, after creating that user, like I said, you can come here and add user to that. So you click on add member. That's after clicking the application. You click on add member, and then you type in the member name, add the member to the manufacturer role, and add that. Now that you've done that, we are ready to interact with the application. So you open another browser, like I have this other browser here, and you go to your Workbench URL. So let me refresh this and make sure this user is still logged in. Good. Now you can see I have different users here I've created, in which you can see them. You actually saw them here. If we go back to all users, okay, yes. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 users, and so it's asking me which of the accounts do I want to log in with. So I'll click this first one here. So we log in with that user account. Okay, it's taking time to log in. Probably it could be the network. Oh, why is this taking time? I guess I'll check the network again. Maybe I can refresh this. This is really taking time. Okay, let me refresh this again. Okay, and pick the account. Good. I hope the user is logged in now. Now you can see automatically the user has the user can now view this application. So the user has the role is authorized to view this application, defective component application. So let's click on that, and of course you can check this is the user, which is different from the user I'm using. So this is it. Now the user has the ability to create a new contract. So we click on new. So it says enter the number of defective components for 12 months. The expected input is an array of integer. It must be in the following format: 1, 2, 3, no trailing commas allowed. So you can see. So now I want to enter the number of defective components in the last 12 months. So we have from January to December, and then we are going to put in the, for each month we're going to put in the number of defective components for that month. So I say it must be in this format. So we can say the first month we have 11, the second month maybe we have 2, the third month maybe 6, maybe 4, maybe 8, maybe 10. So 1, 2, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe the third month maybe we had 12 this month. So we have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. Okay, I'm coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, here's the dot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 of this. Okay. So we'll go right ahead and hit the create contract button. So it's taking time to create the contract. This may take a few minutes. Good. So you can see the contract has been created. So your contract was successfully created. So let's just click click on this to see the details of this contract. So this one colleague created a contract, and then if we look at the details of the contract, you can see here's the contract address, and the state is the contract has been created, and it's created by this manufacturer with this name, and the monthly count of defective components is this. Now mind you, all these are actually what we define in our JSON objects, in our JSON file. So you can see now, you see we have this workflow, defective component count. This is monthly count of defective components, which of course I'm on this browser, which of course is this. So total number of defective components is 0. Now we've created a contract. Now we need to take action. What's the next action? Is the next state of the contract, which is to compute total. So let's click on take action. So you can see number of defective components for 12 months is this, and we created this, and then so let's click on the action to take, which is of course is compute total. So click on take action. Good, successful at the end of the day. So now you can see this is very intuitive to interact with and everything. So number of defective components is 101 in the last 12 months. So it's adding 1, 2, 3, it's adding all these numbers here to give us this. So we have successfully created a contract, and then we are able now to view the total number of defective components of that contract for that particular year. Now there's a very simple contract, but it's very elaborate. It shows how we can use array to create this kind of scenario and how we can deploy it, and assign roles to users that can interact with such application. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I hope you did enjoy the tutorial. One more time, my name is Ayuba. Thank you.